Hi, this is Will Steiger. I'm showing my final project for Geography 167 at UCLA in fall 2015. My project is called Dropping Out, and it explores the graduation rates of high school students in the United States. The United States graduation rate is 22nd out of 27 developed countries, and I was sort of curious what the factors are behind that. So, the first thing I found is that the poor are at a disadvantage. The way I figured this out is I mapped both the poverty level of uh, every state in the United States. You can see here the Southeast has some problems with poverty, and as well as most of the South, and as well as Montana and maybe some parts of Michigan and Kentucky and Tennessee. Um, and when I looked at the graduation rate at every school in the United States, which is represented by this chart, you can see in the Southeast there's a lot of problems with graduation rate. There's schools that are putting out under 50% of students. You can also see it's quite bad in New Mexico, and New Mexico is one of the worst, has one of the worst poverty levels in the United States. So there's definitely a connection there. The counterexample of that is the Northeast. You can see up here, it's mostly green, 80 to 90%, or even above graduation rate, and you can see here their poverty level is very low, sometimes 10% or less. So the reason for this is most likely that students who are under the poverty line need to be able to support their families, so they'll drop out in order to get a job and provide for the rest of their families. The data I used for this is from uh, NCES, and it uses the average freshman graduation rate, which essentially uses the incoming freshman class and sees how that population changes from the first day of freshman year until graduating day. And depending on how much that population is decreased, that's how they calculate the average freshman graduation rate. Another interesting thing to note about this map is that rural areas, even if they, like in Texas and most of the Midwest, even if they don't have a very good uh, poverty level, they still have pretty good graduation rates. This could be because most of the most of rural areas do quite well, both in terms of poverty and education. But places like Texas have large metropolitan centers as well that drag the graduation rate down quite a lot. You can see here, I believe that's Houston, has a quite low graduation rate. I also wanted to look at how demographics affect graduation. So here I have the dropout rates for different demographic groups. There's male and female groups, and for each of for each ethnicity of Black, White, and Hispanic. Uh, you can see here that in almost every group, the female group is higher or has a lower dropout rate than the male group. Another interesting thing is the Hispanic population, as you can see, these three lines. The Hispanic population has always had a much higher dropout rate than the rest of the population, and this could be due to the language barrier. Also, a lot of Hispanic families have immigrant parents, and they are sometimes transient. This could also contribute to that. You can also see over time here, this is not a very good representation of what it used to be. It used to be a lot worse. So if you drag this bar, which I'm having trouble doing right now, here we can use this. If we go all the way back to the 70s, we can see the dropout rate for all groups was much higher. For Hispanics, it was 33.5%. So just about a third of the Hispanic population, high school population in 1973 dropped out of high school. Yeah, so that's my project, and I think it's quite interesting to see how these have changed over time and the averages and how demographics affect graduation. Thanks.